It's been about 10 days, longer than it had to be, to settle out all the solids, and after we added the chemicals for clarification, you can actually see a little bit in here of the sediment. So now I'm going to rack it into a clean and sanitized carboy. What I usually do is put something to wedge underneath, just because it makes it a little bit easier, gets some of the more juice, more wine. So let me get started here. And that'll take a few minutes. The instructions state that if I'm going to be keeping this longer than 6 months, I should add some sulfite. And so I've dissolved a 1/4 teaspoon of potassium metabisulfite into a little bit of water, and I'm just going to add this to here, and eventually I'll just stir it up. And this will take a few minutes to empty out. Most of the carbon dioxide that's been in suspension was cleared when I was using the whip function, when I added the chemicals to it. There'll be some more, and I'll show you what I do with that, how to try and get more of the bubbles out when I finish racking this. You can stop. Okay, we are just about finished here. I'm going to tilt this a little bit so that I can get most of the wine and leave the sediment behind. When I get down to the end, I'm going to quickly pull the siphon so that I don't get much sludge or the sediment going into the other. And there we go. Now you can see over here quite clearly a lot of sediment on the bottom. Those were all the solids that came out of the wine as through the clarification and stabilization process. You can stop that. If you remember a few minutes ago, I added the sulfite, so I'm just going to give it a little stir here just to be sure it's dispersed through the wine. You can stop that. To further get out any of the suspended gases in here, I took a food saver using the extension piece of plastic, had a little piece of plastic that would go to a larger hose and then into a stop. Of course, I sanitize everything. I saw this on a YouTube video. It's not necessary to do it unless you really want to get any more of the suspended gases out. I found that after the period when the wine is aging in the bottles, when you pour the wines, you'll see some very tiny bubbles along the top. That's okay. It's not really effervescence. It's just some of the suspended gases coming out. So let me put this on. The carboys are not intended for vacuum, to hold a vacuum. So you have to be careful, otherwise it could explode and you'd have a lot of wine all over. I do it for about a minute, stop it, let it, the gas, the pressure equalize by taking the stopper off, and do that a few times. Sometimes you'll see a lot of bubbles coming up. At this point there's not too many. You can see some bubbles on the top here. That's the suspended gases coming out as you create the vacuum. There's not too much in here from what I can see. There's some, of course, but not an overwhelming amount. Maybe it's not that. I have cleaned and sanitized the airlock after I finished using the vacuum pump, and now I'm finished, and in 2 weeks come back and it'll be ready to bottle. If you remember, in the last video I showed the white wine and how cloudy it was. Well, now you can see how clear it is since in the week and a half since I did that.